Well, hello, welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger on June 29, 2023. I wish I know how to insert emoji in these videos or pictures and stuff like that, because if I could, I would probably give you a hugging pair of hugging hand. Because today, first off, we are going to mention today is a hug holiday day. Hug Holiday was started in 2006 by a foundation called Hugs for Health Foundation. Did you know that giving a hug or receiving a hug is actually beneficial to your health? Research have shown that when we get a hug from somebody, and let's say we we want the hug. Okay, if you don't want the hug, then it's going to be different. But let's say you want a hug and you get it from somebody, that hug will lower your stress hormone and actually do all kinds of beneficial things, make things happen inside your brain, inside your body, and patients have been shown to recover a lot faster from their ailment after receiving hugs. So yeah, hugs is very beneficial. And today we are going to celebrate by giving hugs to each other and especially people that look like they may need it. Uh, very cool day. And this is also why we're looking at the cuddle team leader, a big pink teddy bear character from Fortnite. I believe we actually looked at her in the past. I vaguely remember doing an episode on her in the past. So that is why we are using her to open the video, and because we are going to move on to yet another special day that is today. But let's talk a little bit more about Hug, because the other special day we are going to mention, there's really not that much information about it. I did not get a lot of hugs growing up. In the Chinese culture, hugging is just like not really that big of a thing. And then in my family, it's even less. In my family, I don't think my parents have ever hugged me before prior to 2015. I honestly, I know my dad picked me up when I was little, but I don't know if that counts as hugging. He was just carrying me around. But as far as my memory go, I don't think I've ever been hugged by my parents until 2015, and I barely count that because when they gave me a hug in 2015, we were on camera. We were doing the Johnny Tiger documentary, so they were doing that more for the benefit of the camera than for me. But anyway, didn't get a lot of hugs growing up, and for the most part, I like getting hugs, but I always feel very awkward hugging people. Never know if it's going to be too forward or hugging them too hard, or people might think it's weird or stuff like that. But yes, personally, I do like hugs, but always been kind of awkward because it's not something I grew up with. Now, did you know the word hug actually came from the Old Norse language, Haga? And Haga meant to ease pain, to uh, help take away stress, something like that. And the word hug never really got used until 1610. Okay, 1610, which is weird. What did people call it before that? I don't know. Did people just say, give it an embrace? We embrace each other? Or something like that. Maybe that sounds like it might be right. But the word hug didn't really come into use until 1610. And 1610, it started out as the name of a wrestling maneuver. I'm guessing the bear hug. And it wasn't until 1650 when the word hug, finally became meaning what it does today, like give each other a hug and comfort each other and all that. That's pretty interesting. I never knew that until I was researching and read it a little bit earlier. Now, as I said, we are going to mention two special days today, because I don't really have another figure other than Cuddle Team Leader to go on about uh, Hug Holiday. Um, so we are also going to celebrate the National Camera Day, which also falls on June 29 every year. Now, I know that Camera Day actually doesn't have a lot of information that I couldn't dig up any information on when did it start, who started it, and all that stuff. But suffice to say, the first camera didn't come into effect until somewhere around 1820, 1825. And the first film camera didn't come into effect until like 1880s, 1885. So it's still a relatively new gadget, and nowadays you can't seem to get away from camera. It's everywhere. It's on your phone. It's what we're using right now, making the video. So definitely worthwhile. Thank you. So definitely worthwhile celebrating National Camera Day. And for this, we are going to bring in a cameraman for this segment. So we'll escort Cuddle Team Leader off the screen. This skinny little guy, his name is Vernon Fenwick. Some of you will recognize him, but a lot of you probably won't, because he's not a very recognizable fellow. Vernon Fenwick is the cameraman for April O'Neil in the uh, 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon. He is that annoying, arrogant, snobbish, cowardly guy that always running away at the first sign with trouble, and he's always there trying to replace April O'Neil as a reporter. But for the most part, he's the cameraman for Channel 6. Now, this action figure was made by Neca, and I believe came out about 2 years ago. Although I can't be sure if it's 2 years ago or 3 years ago, because honestly, NECA Ninja Turtle action figures, especially those few early ones, were so hard to find, especially here in Canada, that sometimes it would take me a year or two to hunt down a particular set of figures. I was fortunate enough to get uh, Vernon here in a two-pack with Rat King. Actually, I didn't care about Vernon. I just wanted Rat King, but Rat King came with Vernon in a two-pack, and I found them on sale at I believe it was Toy Snowman Canada, Toy Snowman, and I snatched them up right away because ever since I was little, Rat King has been one of the Ninja Turtle characters, villains that I was kind of particular about. Most of you know that I have a thing for big, chunky action figures, and Rat King is one of a kind of a muscular Schwarzenegger physique kind of fellow. So always wanted a Rat King in my collection. Not to mention the guy who's like chumming around like a homeless guy, uh, big and muscular homeless guy with a whole bunch of rats as his minion. That's kind of cool. Um, However, we are not going to we're not going to show Rat King today. I want to focus on Vernon, um, because even though Vernon is on his own not super interesting, he does have enough of a variation. Let's put it this way. He has enough to him to talk about without needing to double team this uh, Toy Thursday. And I kind of want to save Rat King for an episode on his own, maybe for Year of the Rat, when we get to Year of the Rat. Gosh, it's only Year of the Rabbit right now. We are a long way off from of the Rat. Would I still be doing this video when Year of the Rat come around? I hope so. I hope so. Uh, I hope that we get a lot more people subscribe to the channel by then. But I definitely not planning on quitting anytime soon. So yeah, we're going to take a look at Vernon on his own today and leave Rat King for another day. But just know that these two they come in a two pack, so you can get them together. There was another two pack that you could get Vernon in, but I think that was a San Diego Comic Con exclusive set that would be super hard to get. In that two pack, you get Vernon with Irma, the other another Channel 6 staff member. Irma, I vaguely remember who she was in the show. She, I think, always seemed to be like that. A really annoying, squeaky assistant to April O'Neil in the cartoon. So Irma and Vernon came in a two pack of their own for the convention special set that I definitely didn't get my hand on that. Honestly, not really all that eager about looking for it either. Like I said, I wasn't really that big on getting Vernon. I was just wanting Rat King. And Vernon just turned out to be a nice uh, bonus on the side. Like I said, Vernon here is kind of a scrawny, skinny, normal-looking dude. He's in a pink shirt, gray tie, blue jeans, and he got white shoes on his feet. Uh, Very generic. In some ways, I like having some of these generic guys around on my display because you can't just have just superheroes and supervillains and all that stuff. You need some pedestrians, like some bystanders and stuff like that. And Vernon actually filled in really, really good as a regular bystander kind of character. Uh, and relatively speaking, he is boring because he's just a skinny dude in jeans and a pink shirt and ties. But he is well constructed. There are some of his joints that are kind of rubbery and gummy, but uh, generally speaking, he is very well put together, and you can get him into some very cool poses, even some martial art poses, if you want him to be fighting somebody. Although the character himself would never do that, but you know, uh, you can always make up a new story for him. Here's Vernon in a very generic karate pose. Uh, if I grab a stand for him, I can probably get him to do some like high kicks and stuff like that. Some of the joints have this really gummy, rubbery feel, and because it's Neca, please be careful. Like some of Neca stuff really break easily, so always a good idea to heat things up and don't force them, especially when you are changing body part, which we will be doing in a little bit. Because in addition to Vernon being a normal guy, he actually comes with the body part to turn him into a Wererat. In I can't remember season 3 or season 4, there was an episode called Wererats from Channel 6, and in that episode, the Rat King kidnapped Vernon and Irma and turned them into these human rat thing with mutagen and sent them out to forage for food. So uh, you are able to change this figure into that. Now, yeah, I know Vernon just did a disappearing act off camera. Uh, I know that I mentioned the construction is generally pretty good, but there are a few issues that I will point out on this figure, and this is kind of my pet peeve on some of these current batch of action figures. Not just NECA, but Todd McFarlane, really bad with this crap. If you look at, well, I don't know if you can see it, but the torso for Vernon, this is squishy. Okay, this is because this suit and the crotch part of his pants, this is rubbery material. This is all rubbery overlay over the structure underneath. Now, I understand some companies do this to save money. You don't have to use so much plastic, but this creates issues, and primarily this messes up articulation. Right? Vernon here have a hard time. Like when you move his arm, this is squeaking like crazy. Let me bring this closer to my headset, and okay, when you move his arm, this is rubbing up against this rubber overlay like crazy, right? And obviously, even though it's soft, it's not going to let him bend his body, so he can't crunch. I don't even know if there's an ab crunch in there, but it's not very workable. And when you turn his torso, there's also, again, that squeak with the rubber rubbing uh, up against the plastic. And because this area, the crotch area of his pants, also got this rubber overlay. So even though the thigh articulation is, see, it's pretty good. The hip joint is pretty good. It doesn't really want to go up. So I understand that Vernon is not meant to do some martial art high kick or anything, but I if you try to get him to squat, he won't do it very good because the leg won't go up very high because it's rubbing up against the rubber overlay. And so overall, the articulations are there, the joints are there, but because of the rubber overlay, it's very difficult to work some of these joints on this guy. Okay, now I'll take my hand out of the frame. And obviously, because it's camera day, we can't do it without actually showing the cameraman with his camera. So here we have Vernon with the camera that he came with. This camera is big. This is like one of those old-fashioned camera uh, thing that, well, actually, honestly, some of the professional cameras that we work with during Johnny Tiger documentary, those are pretty bulky like this too. Um, so it's huge. It looked like a cannon in his hand. Like I look at the camera and then you look at the figure. You think, God, can he even pick that up? So yeah, don't underestimate cameraman. Like I want to take this chance to show some appreciation to my team with the Johnny Tiger documentary. Ian, Darren, you guys work so hard a lot of time. I know I gripe a lot how long things take and stuff like that, but it always amazed me how uh, those guys can just hold the camera steady and for hours. Sometimes, like like the camera must weigh like 20 pounds, and they have to hold it absolutely still for a lengthy amount of time without a tripod. And it's amazing. It's really quite amazing how much endurance some of these camera people have. So my hats off to you guys. Vernon here got his giant camera in his hand. This camera does come with this one articulation point that I'll show you guys. Unfortunately, I'll have to get my hand back in the frame. Okay, so here we have the camera in my grubby little paw, and you see if you the handle here for the holding onto the camera, this swivels. Okay, this part, this moves. So again, because it's Neca, you want to be careful with that. Okay, but when it's not being used, you can fold this back to the side like that, and you can kind of sit on the ground at his feet. Or there's a carrying handle here on the top that he can carry it like a suitcase when he's not using it. Now, because he came with Rat King, who is a very important villain, honestly, if they just left it at this, like Vernon and Rat King, it would have been pretty cool for a lot of people. But Neca, being Neca, they are really good at this. They went one extra step and gave you the option of turning him into the Wererat, and we're going to do that transformation. I am not going to do it on screen because it is a little bit tedious. You do want to take a hair dryer and heat up his head and his arm. Otherwise, you run the risk of breaking them. So I'll be back shortly. Here we have with Vernon with the head and neck changed to the head and neck of the Wererat. It's a big rat head and furry texture. Really, really cool. Yeah, they even did the neck with that furry texture. So when you change the body part, you make sure you grab the neck and remove the head. That way, don't just grab the top, the head part because the neck have to come off too. And like I said, you want to heat this up, otherwise it's going to give you quite a battle, and you really might break it. So always heat things up if they are too stiff. Otherwise, you might end up having to buy another one of these. Um, so here we have the head of the were rat on Vernon, and the were rat head have articulated jaw, so the mouth can open and close. And because of the neck articulation is actually really good, so it can look down. Look how far it can look down really, really far. Like this is not even natural. Go down, look down like that far, I think. But it can kind of thrust his head forward, swivel to the side. Oh, it's coming off. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. I just warmed it up, so it is a little bit loose right now. It's better than breaking though. Um, it can look up at the moon like that. And yeah, this has some really good expressive motion in the head. Now we have Vernon fully transformed. His head, the were rat's head, and his arms have been transformed into this furry rat hand with a sharp claws, sharp little claws. I did not uh, take his wristwatch from his regular arm, human arm, and put it on the Wererat one. But the watch is removable, I think, and you can change that over if you want. Uh, it is a very small piece, so if you do, be very careful with that wristwatch. It can uh, potentially go missing or break very easily. With the Wererat transformation, with the head and arm as Wererat, this figure does tend to be a bit top heavy, because his legs are so skinny and the joints are not super tight around his knee, hip, knee area. So just be aware that when you transform him into the Wererat, he is going to be a little bit more annoying to pose, especially lacking the proper torso crunch. He not going to have a lot of option. You're not going to be able to get him into some really cool hunched over dynamic rat-like poses. Now let's look at some quick size comparison. Obviously, as a Wererat, he's slightly taller than as a human, but the size is not that big of a difference. Since we already had the cuddle team leader, Teddy Bear Lady, waiting patiently on the side, we'll start with her. And she is scaled for 7 inch. I'm not quite sure what scale this Vernon, these Ninja Turtles are scaled for. Some of them are huge, some of them are small. Vernon has never been really that big of a guy, so it makes sense that he's small. And as we can see here, the teddy bear is huge comparing to him. The cuddle team leader from Fortnite stand head and shoulder above Vernon, even in his were-rat form. Uh, she got to be at least 2 inches taller than him, I think. And of course, we have to use Captain America as usual, because he's like the gold standard of 6-inch action figure. And Captain America is beefier and slightly taller than Vernon the Wererat. And here we have someone who is like more from Vernon's line of work. Here we have J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man. And yeah, the two of them actually look pretty good together. I can see if you want to have like a office worker reunion or like a pedestrian reunion on your shelf of these pedestrian type action figures, this two would definitely make the cut and they look pretty good standing together. Obviously, I left Vernon in his Wererat form. I don't want to go through the trouble of changing him back to human again. The more you fiddle with that, the more chance of something breaking. But yeah, generally speaking, those two, they do look like they fit together pretty good. And for a little cat and mouse game, we have Meowso, who's absolutely huge, next to our poor little Wererat.